Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel, and I'm sorry for leaving you all for about 2 years without anything. I've just been working. I've had a job, stable jobs, for those 2 years that have been a constant drain and a constant focus of mine. So I've not had much time to do recordings, figure out editing, or anything like that. So we're back to stage one. But now, instead of doing that, I'm doing something a bit different. We're doing some reaction content today. We're going to do some deep dives into the Gravity Falls fandom, more specifically into the resurgence due to the Book of Bill and how people have reacted to Bilford and all of that sort of thing. So, obviously, I'm sure people who watch Gravity Falls are aware about how it is basically canon now that Bill and Ford were fucking dating. It's not been fully confirmed, I know, but like there's only so much text in the sub, if you catch my drift. So that's what we'll be watching. Today we're going to be watching a video from Wheelie Scoot and then another video from Coley Does Things. By the video you will be able to see their accounts and spellings and pronunciations I'm sure you can figure out, and you can tell me in the comments about it. Now, I have tried to record this before, about 30 seconds ago. Then I proceeded to realise that my webcam audio was recording as well, so everything was doubled. So this is the second time recording this, so I'm a bit more already know some of what I'm going to say. I'm going to forget everything I've said previously in about 4 seconds, so we'll get back to it. And I'm preemptively going to apologise because Coley Does Things, her videos are very chaotic, and you will see the shift in my personality and my reactions the second I start watching her content in comparison to Wheelie. And it's not an insult to Wheelie Scoot. I loved the essay when I watched it the first time, and it was entertaining to me and something that really made me invested again into Gravity Falls. The first video I'm going to be watching is Wheelie Scoot. It's a bit more of a somber sort of vibe in comparison. We're going to be watching Wheelie Scoot. Now, I've watched this already, as I said. My chair is so creaky. But as I said, I've already watched this through because I screwed up the recording the first time. But I am going to watch this through again with you guys, and we're going to discuss. I'm going to pause occasionally through, and we're going to talk about what this whole thing is about and how interesting it is, you know?
Okay, this is a very impromptu recording, as Gravity Falls cannot leave my mind, and these two are the cause of it. I am absolutely smitten with the way that this show, these characters, and especially the recent Book of Bill is written. I literally have woken up in a cold sweat to write part of this on...
Oh, I know you were just here. We've just been here. But I'm also pausing to let you all know that I am a year late to this. That wasn't by choice, but the video has been re-popping up on my feed, so I'm now back and interested into the topic itself. So I'm looking forward to getting back into this and understanding where the fandom was a year ago.
My notes app is just so good. So recently, the Book of Bill and Gravity Falls has had a bit of a resurgence and popularity amongst the masses. And I am but a sheeple. Actually, just kidding. I watched Gravity Falls growing up. I caught the episodes week after week, and I actually remember when the episodes were still airing and people were making theories about what was going to happen next. I remember the Mabelland debacle when everyone thought that it was going to be her perfect day of summer instead of a fancy schmancy 80s land, and then everyone got mad that it was
I also remember this controversy a lot. I was very young when I first started watching Gravity Falls. Very young, like I'm ancient, I'm 20. But, you know, this series was really a pinnacle of my young childhood, and it really helped me a lot to explore my curiosity, to look more into things, to be curious, and it really helped me develop. And I also remember being terrified to Google anything, because unfortunately as a child I was also a fan of My Little Pony, and you know where that one goes.
Of not seeing it or not really looking at it, and I loved it. I cried at the end. It was so good. But while Gravity Falls in its entirety is really good, something, or should I say someone, has piqued my interest quite a bit. Stanford Pines and Bill Cipher. Everyone is talking about them. Yada yada toxic yaoi. Yada yada he the triangle.
This image.
Yada he.
This one. When I first watched this, I genuinely froze. I paused and I stared at this thing like it killed my family. Cause what effort? It's the, if you look, right, it's the amount of effort put into, like, Bill specifically, because look, he's perfectly outlined. He's even got the hair even edited in, like, and then there's Ford, who's like still got like the grey around him from whatever scene it was taken out of. I just think it's really funny the amount of effort that was put in for certain parts of it, and the rest of it is kind of left at rot.
A lot of thoughts about these two, and I think that they can be summed up with 3 different sections for each character. Their compelling backstory, how that backstory informs their decisions, and the regret and denial they face after the fallout and the rest of their moments in the series. Also, quick content warning for toxic and abusive relationships, mentions of suicide, bullying, coercion, nerdy old men, eldritch possession, destruction of 2-dimensional spaces, and evil triangle.
Now, I know some of these are jokey, but if something here is an issue for you, one second, just resize that. There you go. If any of this stuff is an issue for you, please do click off until the next part of the video, which should be about, I'll leave a timestamp during editing about here. Right here there will be a timestamp. Oh, I'm gonna hate myself in editing if I can't do that, by the way. You'll know.
The Book of Bill in general really impresses me because it's super cool to see what Alex Hirsch can do when he's not being held back by censors too much. I was reading this book and I was genuinely shocked that Ford started using the word damn. I was like, what? He can say that? And he started mentioning drinks and like hangovers. I was like, what? I was not expecting like that mature of a depiction of a toxic relationship that's overtaking your life, and I wasn't expecting how great it was, the possession and fantastical nature of the book and the show, to be an allegory for a stressful and toxic relationship. I thought it was very cool. Good old Fordsy. This man had like a chokehold on me at age 13. I don't know what was going on there, but it hasn't changed at all. Side note, I played Swooning Over Stands, and I intended
I'll also
to
play this if you ask.
And then I played Ford's entire route with the pictures and everything. And then I started playing Stanley's, and I was like, I miss Ford's route. And then I didn't play it anymore. Listen, I think that Stanley is very hot in his own way. Everyone knows that scene in Karaoke, it did things to people, okay? His outfit in the other episode, was it Double Dipper? The outfit that he wears to the party. That outfit. Let's talk about it. Ford had a few things that made him a bit different compared to the kids. For one thing, he had his 6 fingers, his feature that made him feel like an anomaly. And this is both stated as being freakish or weird by his peers, but also being propped up as a gift by doctors. We see this if you type Ford or Sixer or anything that describes Ford into the computer on This Is Not a Website. The doctor goes on saying, I'm not sure if this is a disability, it's almost like a super ability, which props up Ford as both weird and also different in a good way, which is a theme that Ford takes to heart and that we see throughout his arc. There's also an emphasis on his IQ, his smarts, his research, something that he is objectively good at.
It is interesting that, and now I'm rewatching the video back, he gets so much praise from people higher up than him, and I feel like later in this video they bring up about the how Ford struggles to make connections with people, and I feel like that probably comes from this sort of thing where adults praise him for his intelligence and being different in a way that improves him, and it isolates him as well from everyone who could potentially be a friend or a classmate, someone he could like bond with. It pushes them away. My lamp wants to fall. Sorry about that.
This is also weird and alienates him from his peers, but makes his parents and his school proud of him. This is something that he can control, that he is objectively good at. But growing up, there's also an emphasis on his lack of social skills. While he has other things that make him interesting and kind of weird and prop him up, there seems to be a direct correlation between this weirdness and his lack of social interaction and lack of social skills, which he really, really takes to heart as he grows up, describing marriage as almost a waste of time, settling down seeming as something baffling him. While I didn't grow up with 6 fingers or being really smart, I do relate to having trouble with social interactions because of any number of things, from weird mannerisms to not feeling like I fit in to some sort of neurodivergency. I relate to it, and I've had moments where, because you struggle with socializing, you feel like all you're good for is one thing that you're good at, which in this case was Ford's smarts after college career. So Ford was in his mid to late 20s and still feeling like a total outcast, with no real friends or family other than maybe McGucket later on.
This proves my point a bit further, that the praise from those who are above him, now that he's on his own, he feels as though he's got nothing, he cannot push forward, like, relationship wise, make friends or anything like that. It's stressful.
But we know how that turned out, so and we know that it isn't drawn to like a magnet, but throughout his specificity of attraction, it can be also read as romantic or even sexual. And I think this is a really cool way that they show how Ford wants to be purely scientific, but his need for connection kind of seeps into that. And I think this is connected to his relationship with Bill. Obviously, Bill is strange, and he's seen as an anomaly, and he's this weird eldritch being, and Ford is attracted to this, and the eldritch being is attracted to Ford. Either drawn to, or even in a relationship way, as we see becomes more explicit throughout the Book of Bill. In the Book of Bill, Bill shows us what all of our main characters dream about, and Ford's is shown first, and I think it's really, really interesting. He says, Sixer dreams about a pop quiz that asks him, what are you attracted to? Usually writes, I'm attracted to logic and preparation. And then Bill chimes in with, not sure what to call that, pansexual. And it's a little jab at Ford Z, but it also shows us that Ford is in extreme denial that he is worrying about things like attraction.
It can be taken in an aromantic way as well, but I feel as though if you've traveled through space, times, and multiple dimensions, I don't think you haven't done something with an alien that looks vaguely humanoid. Not saying anything, just an opinion, but it's one that holds water, because I doubt he would have survived if he hadn't had a bit of monster clap on him. I'm gonna lie.
And it's a pretty blatant show of him questioning and being frustrated with his own sexuality. I was actually surprised how blatant it was. He literally has nightmares about, like, what he's attracted to. I think my strange way of seeing the universe a gift or a curse. Is loneliness just the cost of greatness? And if it is, how long am I fated to endure?
Yeah, like, the poetic way of speaking is like, I have to be this way, but I have to be this way, but how long do I have to suffer this way till I get comfort, sort of thing.
And while we see Stanley's point of view
Tortured
of
artist.
how he compares himself to his brother's smarts, you can see Ford compare himself to Stanley at the very bottom in the code. Stanley could have made her laugh. This is something that we don't see in the show a whole lot until the very end, where Ford admits that Stanley probably wouldn't have fallen for Bill, and he's right. Ford and Bill aren't good people, but we still feel for their experiences. At least I do. I did. So in the show, Bill says, I liberated my dimension, and I can liberate yours too, as we see a second dimension go up in flames, which is obviously horrifying. But we see from the book of Bill that it wasn't a tyrannical monstrosity that Bill had planned. He was an anomaly. He had one eye, already weird growing up, but he could also see the third dimension. He had a vision or a power that no one else could see, and he thought that he was destined for more. He grew up very similar to Stanford. He wanted to show his parents, the people that he loved, and in his dimension, what he had seen as well.
It's actually debatable if he loved his parents, but he's cared enough to relieve them of delusions. Although this could come from the selfish need to be right overall, his parents a touchy subject and he shows some hurt when they are mentioned. Interesting. It's when it comes to loved ones, and it's touched on more in this video later, Bill really doesn't like the idea of connection, which I contribute to his dimension going up in flames. I will come back, okay?
And on the next page, we see what happens. Bill starts with this very enthusiastic, it was time to put on a show, and it slowly changes into their screams getting louder, so much blood, hands shaking, no one left but me, covered in blood, alone in the universe. And this is done with...
Yeah, so that part. Imagine the horror! Oh, I had this rant in the last recording. It's unfathomable horror on such a cosmic scale. You can't imagine, because it's... everything is gone because of you. There is no one else to blame. There's nothing else you can do. It's like, even if he was just being selfish, like, be right, and it's just, I just wanted to prove to my family that I'm not insane, that I am seeing this other dimension, and I can't wait to show them everything. And then that one action erases them all. You have to watch everyone you love, everyone you've ever known, people you didn't know, you could have known, perish because of something you did. And seeing the blood on your hands as it's not even just him, his family, the earth he lived on, it's everything. The stars in the sky gone, the universe as they know it gone, anything they could have potentially explored in the future gone in an instant by your hands. And the guilt, I couldn't even dream. of the guilt that would be flooding my whole system from being the reason everyone was dead. And not only that, I don't believe, like, being that alone in a dead universe, floating around covered in people's blood, people you knew's blood, and just having to sit there and think constantly, could I have done something different? This is all my fault. What happened? Because that would have been a lot to process. And being in a dead universe, we don't know if Bill had all of his godly powers immediately after the destruction of his universe, or even before that. So what if he was trapped there for a period until he gained those powers by starting to imagine things and trying to get something out of nothing? What if he was just terrified, alone for years, eons even, left with nothing but the guilt, the trauma of watching everyone he loves die? We don't know when this destruction of his universe happened. It could have happened when he was round about the same age he is now, because time, I'm sure, is different, but it could have also been when he was a child, because we see the image of him as a child. I'm not gonna lie, big shoes, kind of cute. It's such a 6.5 dozen, because you're just sat there and you're like, what could have been done to save everyone? But if it was if it's a selfish reason, I wanted to prove everyone, like, I want to show everyone that I can see this and they can too. Just having to see everyone you know and love die is something I couldn't fathom. But I digress. Let's continue. A little rant there for you.
Great characterization from Bill. During the Book of Bill, we can see his denial and deflection of anything that shows his vulnerabilities. And this story is definitely one of his most vulnerable moments. And we can see that because almost all of it is blacked out. That's weird. For some reason, whenever I try to talk about that day, there's this loud buzzing in my ears and I black out for 30 seconds.
PTSD.
It's done for comedic effect, but it's also incredibly interesting. This is another parallel between Stanford and Bill. They both deflect on their feelings. Bill says Sixer was a lot better at science than he was at making friends, and he tended to rip out journal pages that had anything to do with his issues with others, especially me. Ford is embarrassed of his own human emotions. He wants to focus on what he can do, what he can control, which is his research. And yet he still yearns for this social interaction. And Bill makes him feel seen. He praises him for his scientific research, and he also keeps him company. This beginning of their relationship is very haunting when you look back on what all has happened, because Ford genuinely enjoys Bill's company, my muse and me. I cannot believe how much he has enriched my life since. It's not just his uncanny predictions about the future. He's sped up my mind when it's sluggish, and calmed it down when I'm anxious. Given me clever comebacks when I'm insulted. This is another really interesting part of their relationship, as they seem to complete each other. Bill says this as well when he says, "Me and Sixer would be the perfect team. I had what he always wanted, charisma, and he had what I wanted, fingers." Which is interesting because of his anomaly with the 6 fingers, but it's also that Bill wants control. He wants to be tangible in the 3rd dimension. There's a lot of psychological terms that are thrown around on the internet, so I don't want to use any of them too flippantly, but I think that Bill giving Ford basically everything he wants is a pretty blatant depiction of love bombing. And this is contrasted with Bill straight up just leaving Ford and making him feel empty. Then he'll disappear for weeks, months at a time, and I am left to wonder, has it all been in my head? And if it has, would that be enough? Totally isolated from anyone who might steer him.
It's torture. It's torture being, like, it's abuse. Obviously it's abuse, but it's also torturous to be clinging to something so closely and then have it ripped away again and again and again. but what can you do? You crave them after a while.
Bill makes him feel amazing, but also makes him feel different. But different in a good way, at least to Ford at this moment. Bill makes him feel special, but without Bill, he feels worthless. We can see this in one of the darkest moments in the book. One of the moments that really, really surprised me, blew me away with Alex Hirsch's writing. Bill says, "Fordsy, nobody else really gets you, do they? Without me, you'll always feel unseen, surrounded by dolts who don't recognize your true potential. You've always felt alone in a crowd, haven't you? Who else will give you this feeling again? Even if you got rid of me, you'd miss me. Admit it, you'd miss me." And while this is a setup for an amazing punchline, it's also a great summary of why Ford is so addicted to Bill. Ford makes a deal with...
And this is very funny. The fact that looking at this is funny as fuck, because it's like, this implies that while he's heavily drunk, he can draw this beautiful, in their world, photorealistic image, but cannot say words in spell it all.
I was very surprised that drinking and hangovers were mentioned in a book that I presumably thought was published by Disney. I'm not quite sure about all that. It's always fun to see a more vulnerable side of Ford, and I love this part. The foreshadowing in Sixer, It Would Eat You Alive is incredible. Honestly, just go read the book. Bill also genuinely has a jealousy problem. It's pretty obvious that he's jealous of Fiddleford and Ford's relationship, which seemed very intimate, seeing as Fiddleford handcrafted 6-fingered gloves for Ford, as well as making him a miniature snow globe, and then forgot a present for his wife. And we can see Bill begin to try to sever any other relationship that Ford has besides him. Bill puts doubts into Ford's head about Fiddleford, saying that he's going to shut down their plans, he's keeping an eye on him. And this is in the middle of a particularly lonely moment Ford has, where Bill leaves for months on end. Where was he? Off inspiring some other scientist? Posing for some tapestry? Were we even partners? And then Bill says, "I'm not the one skipping portal work to carouse with a third-wheel hillbilly with second thoughts about our project." And Ford dropping the snow globe and breaking it is just such good imagery for his relationships and ties being broken, and how he should trust no one but Bill. I think this trust no one line is really interesting, and it hurts even more rewatching the series and seeing Dipper repeat it to himself.
I feel like seeing Ford have this mantra makes sense because of what he's seen, what he knows comparatively. But seeing Dipper react the same way as an adult who's traumatized and who's very isolated in comparison, it's really sad, because it's like it goes from being Dipper has his own personality and own thoughts to him forcing it himself to trust no one, not even trust because he makes friends. He's got a lot of connections, positive connections, and he just has to kind of hope that it works out. It doesn't seem fair to him in the way that it does to Ford, if that makes sense.
Particularly pivotal in Gravity Falls and this storyline.
It feels like a threat. I said this earlier. One sec. I said this earlier when I was first recording this, and then obviously
as it
happened. The issue happened. But it feels like a threat, because think about it this way. Thinking about Bill when you've already summoned him once, I think and since you have access to his head constantly, it comes up as a threat, because anytime you think about him, he probably has a notification set up. My boyfriend's thinking about me. My boyfriend's thinking about me. So he knows when you're thinking about him. He's going to react, volatile or not. It will end up the way I'm always on your mind. It feels like a threat because it feels as though he can put himself there. We know he can alter minds and he can like change what you think of yourself, what people know about. He's basically a god of the mindscape. He can do anything in your mind. He has more power of your mind than you do, which is horrific, traumatic even. But also, it means that he can do anything. If you think about him, he'll know. If you don't think about him, he can make you think about him. He will. I'll always be in your mind. He'll always make himself on your mind, like an abuser. Always, just the second before your thoughts drift to something else, they're back. It's sad, but it's a good depiction.
Such a great, things get darker and darker, and we begin to see Bill's impact on Ford's life become more and more sinister. Throughout the book, we see Ford and Bill's relationship go from seemingly extraordinary to incredibly traumatic and horrifying, specifically from Ford's perspective, as these are the lost journal pages, which is why I've been emphasizing Ford's perspective during all of this, as it's what we have the most direct evidence for. And as their relationship spirals into something more horrifying, specifically from Ford's perspective, we can see throughout the journal pages his horror and humiliation. And this shame that Ford feels is something that's present throughout the Journal 3, the books, even the show to an extent. We see Ford go to some pretty extreme lengths to keep Bill out of his mind. As much as Bill
goes to very extreme lengths because he feels like nothing else is going to work. Which is understandable, he's basically a god. But putting barriers between them constantly, it's something horrifically distressing about it's protecting yourself from an abuser, but knowing that they don't care.
See that Bill overtakes Ford's mind and leaves him on the top of his cabin, almost about to jump. A horrifying morning, and it was to send a message that he's his toy. And as Bill gets more and more frustrated with Ford, how Ford refuses to let him into the portal room, he overtakes Ford's mind and goes on a joyride in his body. He threatens to call his estranged brother and tell him that he's going to kill himself and that he never loved him. He uses the power over his brain that once helped him calm his anxiety or speed up his research to threaten to delete memories, to have him delete his memory of his own name. You're my property, don't forget it. The hillbilly abandoned you, your father won't want you returning without millions, you have no friends, and if you died out here in the snow, who would even miss you? Which is a shockingly realistic depiction of an abusive partner. And when Ford starts losing Bill, start receiving some of the worst of Bill's mistreatment and torture, he starts grasping at straws for any sort of ties that he had long abandoned, and that Bill had succeeded in convincing him that he did not need. He feels like he has nothing else but Bill. And it's very tempting to view Bill as this sort of one-dimensional, awful abuser, right? I mean, the things that he was doing to Ford were objectively awful. And we don't see a lot of Bill's perspective throughout all of this. But we do see his perspective after the journal pages and losing Ford. Going on a drunken rampage to a taco place and asking for 1 sixer.
Yeah, I get that. He goes on a rampage after the divorce here for an hour. But he basically goes on a drunken rampage to sort of get the attention of his ex. It's like, I want my sixer back. Where's my male wife? It's funny in a really sad way. But it's also interesting because he claims, I have no connection to him, I'm not interested in him. But he's so obsessed with Ford at the same time. It's clearly an abusive relationship. But it's similar to what I was saying earlier. Like abusers will stalk their victims, try and intimidate their victims, just because they're so obsessed with staying in that person's life. It's weird.
Is the one who had destroyed his dimension and his parents. Although we are taken out of this sadness as he goes to berating his mother for not cutting off the crusts of the sandwiches. Ford, on the other hand, reacts to this breakup with a determination to destroy Bill, but also an incredible shame and lack of trust of anyone. His experience with Bill had only strengthened his desire to isolate himself and trust no one. We can see Bill's denial go into full gear as he's forced to confront these issues in the Theraprism. So, for those who don't know, when Bill gets killed in the last episode of Gravity Falls, he summons the axolotl and convinces him to let him live. And convinces him to live is essentially the axolotl puts him in this therapy cube thing called the Theraprism. And
the anti-torment nexus, the therapy nexus. You have to get help. You will be better.
And we actually get to see little snippets of Bill in therapy throughout thisisnotawebsite.com, which I found so cool, and I ate it up. It was so fun. If you input "even his lies are lies" into the computer, it prompts a short exchange between Bill and what we can assume to be a therapist. And here we can see Bill talk about his experience with Ford. He continues to ramble on and on about Ford, and ruminating on some sort of excuse on why he keeps thinking about Ford and why Ford matters to him. Like I had said previously, we can see this repeatedly in the Book of Bill when topics run close to Bill's own past and experiences, especially vulnerabilities. He works overtime to try to correct these. He goes on about Ford being a pawn, a perfect pawn even, and how he wants him to feel special so that he can take advantage of him. To see this exchange, even his lies are lies, tell the truth. That Bill is an incredibly guarded individual who...
reaction to talking about what happened with his parents and like how he tried to share the universe with them and how they all died. And it wouldn't shock me if that forced him inwards. So like suddenly I wanted to give everything. I was selfish, but I wanted to be selfish and share. And I shared and everyone died. Everyone I cared about died. That would probably make me recede into myself as well. I wouldn't be very confident if I accidentally killed everyone I loved. Jesus.
To tell the truth about his vulnerabilities, even in something as intimate as therapy. And we see this pattern a lot throughout the book. We see it on the weaknesses page, his exes or feelings are brought up, and while he doesn't black anything out with his experience with falling out with Ford, we can definitely see that he tries to move along as quickly as possible. He keeps reaffirming that Ford would be back and he wasn't upset. And again, this is played for an incredibly goofy joke, but it's also incredibly in character. Knocking back a few cold glasses of I'm Fine juice, and then it shows this giant-ass pint that Bill's comedically holding up.
Yo, peanuts. Did you see the peanuts in the book? Like,
Bill's pint.
Peanuts. The classic bowl of peanuts, the stardust in the background, the violence.
that otherworldly Lovecraftian feature to this allegory for a toxic relationship just makes it so interesting to me. When you type in "I'm still on your mind," something that Bill repeats after talking about Stanley for a very long time, footage plays on the computer of a stormy day at sea, and we can hear Stan in the background. Literally, a play on Ford still thinking about Bill, either worrying or reminiscing. Not in a sense that he particularly regrets killing Bill, more of like a...
I'm not gonna lie, when it comes to the situation with Grunkle Stan's memories, me and a lot of people I wasn't particularly pissed, but it did feel kind of weird that they had Grunkle Stan remember everything so quickly after having his memories erased. I'm sure that's how it worked with the Society of the Blind Eye, and because of how forward in his head that Bill was, maybe it took him specifically instead. But a lot of people agree that if all of Stan's memories are back, then that has a high chance of bringing Bill's back. And we know he's back, but he's in a different dimension. But the connection for their deal would still be in play, technically. So.
He's looking back on it and it's bittersweet. Similar to the experience he had with Mabel regarding the funeral. Sam's incredibly insecure and has an extremely large ego that he wants to pull others down into. And we see how he reconnects with his external support system, learning to trust others again, learning to have faith in the future generation, to give other people credit, and to make connections. While we see Bill succumb to his isolation and insistence that he doesn't need anybody, that he doesn't need Ford, basically. And we see Bill succumbing to this denial throughout the last pages of the Book of Bill. We see him shattered and clearly traumatized, but continuously repeating, "I'm fine." Bill is an
I'm fine. That therapy prison is going to do him some good. He shouldn't be forgiven. His actions are not worthy of are not equivalent to what he experienced. And he shouldn't constantly go after others to suffer with him. Because that's what he's doing. He's basically collecting people and making them experience what he experienced. It's depressing, but understandable. If anyone who's ever been like the sad kid, the depressed kids in school, will know that you will find the other depressed kids, and you will make like a little group, hurt things, find other hurt things to try and put the pieces back together, be it their own pieces or the other person's. And abusers take advantage of that. For example, the henchmaniacs. I've seen a couple of theories about it, and my personal opinion, it does come off as though Bill did what he did with all the other universes to theirs. So he'll collect the outsider, convince them to come with him, and he will destroy the universe and move on. The dimension and move on with his new maniac. And it's what he was attempting to do with Ford as well, which is interesting. Because people don't talk about that. He did try and do that with Ford. He did offer him the Wheelmageddon to join. It's weird, but it's a little detail. I might be overreacting, but yeah, just the thought again. I'm good at yapping.
Exaggerated and tyrannical monster, but he's also an incredibly well-written analogy of someone with a horrible past who doesn't break the chain. I think that Gravity Falls has a huge theme of generational trauma being broken by the next generation. We see it with the Pines twins, the Dipper and Mabel. We see it with Pacifica. We see it with Zeus. Pretty much every character has some sort of strain in their family or past that they're able to overcome and learn and grow from. Even Dipper and Mabel teach Ford and Stan new things about themselves, despite being so young. But Bill doesn't. He's had this horrible experience growing up, and yet he never grows or learns or chooses to be something different. And also experiencing time differently. This 30 years of Ford dedicated...
In a way that makes complete sense, because if you think about it, if you're two-dimensional, if you're from a two-dimensional world, there's not much that can hurt you. Like, what's gonna happen? Are you gonna fall down the stairs? There's no stairs to fall down. What are you gonna do? Get stabbed? what's he gonna go through? It's gonna just go. It makes sense he doesn't experience pain, and it's interesting. It's interesting to him to experience pain.
Hating himself to destroying Bill was like a weekend to Bill of his ex ghosting him. And I think this distance between the reality of the abusive situation and also the comedy that is sprinkled in makes this story really engaging and also fairly easy to digest. Especially
the video itself was a very nice, concise retelling of the book in a way through the lens of someone who explains the relationship in both a romantic term, and also it doesn't come off as being just a romantic one. So if you don't see the relationship as romantic, you can also take away from it the same lessons for a friendship and for a relationship with even family and other loved ones who could potentially abuse you, or even business partners. This was an abusive situation that spiraled and spiraled, and it just ended up being horrible for all of them. That was much more of a somber video. However, we do have Collie Does Things. So, Collie Does Things. So we do have something a bit more lighthearted and on the more fandom side of things, not just context itself, context and logic. This is more fandom, fan theories, fan art, and the fandom itself being researched and what is causing the research, or was, because this was a year ago, and I'll explain why I'm a year late. I think I already did, but I'll re-explain at the end. For now, we're here.
That's the best tag yet, hands down. Did you the interdimensional twink Ford? My stomach hurts. Oh, you little freak. He's so big. Oh my gosh. Welcome, one and all, to Sigmageddon.
I did warn you at the beginning. I can't be blamed for anything. I give you a warning.
Bill, the one-eyed triangle guy. Bill. So, Book of Bill, huh? For a while now, I've had a feeling that some big Gravity Falls related thing would come out of the woodwork eventually, and it's been manifested. The Book of Bill was released on July 23rd of this year and was officially announced on December 13th of last year. And with it came the rebirth of the Gravity Falls fandom at large. The Gravity Falls fandom, mind you, wasn't dead by any means. Like Bill, I don't think it can die. Unlike a lot of popular long-winded media.
The Gravity Falls fandom goes strong because the fandom doesn't just rely on the media it has. It also relies on the fandom itself. And I will be honest, there are so many connecting comments and amazing TV show connections. There's so many AUs and they're so good. They're so good. I love them. Underrated. Some of them.
The show was only 2 seasons, so there wasn't a whole lot of official content just on that front. But despite that, the fandom, which during its height was practically inescapable, has persisted and remained steadfast. Besides the show itself, there's been a fair amount of other Gravity Falls stuff out there, from the books, to video games, to websites, social media accounts, the Cyber Hunt in 2016. Outside of blips when official content was released, the fandom kept itself alive through really intricate AUs, fan art, fanfic, edits, retrospectives from nostalgic fans. For a fandom whose primary source media ended over 8 years ago now, they were doing pretty well. And then this mother comes back and suddenly everyone with a dormant Gravity Falls interest awakens like a Book of Bill is the first piece of Gravity Falls media that's been geared towards a more mature audience, which makes a lot of sense considering all the kids and teens who grew up with Gravity Falls back in the 2010s are grown now.
Well, back in my day, I could watch a new episode of Gravity Falls every few months, weeks, time frame. It was a very good series to watch as a kid, And if you have, I know, random, if you have kids, have them watch Gravity Falls as long as they are over the age of 10, because later in the season they will be traumatized. Don't traumatize your kids.
Gravity Falls itself has an ages 7 and up rating, which I think is a little
the
book. It basically covers the events of Gravity Falls from Bill's perspective and then some. It begins with Bill enticing the reader to make a deal with him in exchange for learning his secrets, and later goes over his backstory, starting from when he was a wee body shape in a 2D dimension that could see the third dimension thanks to a mutation, conveying that his attempts at showing his kind to the third dimension resulted in their demise. It covers what he was up to before he arrived in Gravity Falls for the first time, his efforts of opening up a portal to his new dimension, and how he eventually came to know Ford. There's a chapter about silly straws, the Great Gatsby's a required reading, there's ciphers and puzzles, and it's revealed that when Bill was erased in the show and called out to the axolotl in a desperate plea to save him, the axolotl put him in a therapy dimension.
I know it's not from the book itself, but it's from the comics. Speaking of, we do have the comics. I don't know if they're still running, but they are good. But I think that the axolotl's so cute. Oh look, it's the opposite Torment Nexus.
Try and reform his evil ways, which is where he's still stuck, and the book was his last-ditch effort at reaching the outside world in an effort to escape by taking over the reader's body and restarting the portal. The whole thing is Bill's arts and crafts project from therapy. God, the website thisisnotawebsite.com also came out to accompany the Book of Bill, and it's chock full of riddles and puzzles and all sorts of things to play around with and figure out.
Oh, what's that one?
And it's chock full of riddles and puzzles.
I found this written in the book of secrets only you can comprehend, written in a solar-powered ink. Train your eyes to see the ink so you stare inside 13 hours, enabling you. They differ. They're to smell your eyes burning. That means it's working.
And all sorts of things to play around with and figure out. Bill and Ford may be canon. It's not officially confirmed.
This is a beautiful piece of art, by the way. This is cutesy. This is like, oh, these two survived, but in every other universe, someone dies.
And with spooky season upon us, it's perfect timing. It's cosmic timing. The thing that has shaken up fans the most, though,
the part I want to pull
that
is
Bill and Ford maybe.
There you go. I love this artist. This artist is really funny. If on, I don't know, is oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, sorry about that. If you are a big fan of Gravity Falls or any art or anything comical, this artist on Instagram, I can't remember their username, but it's so good. They've got such funny little comics. If you're a fan of comics, this is perfect.
Canon? It's not officially confirmed, at least not at the time of filming this, but
it's not officially confirmed, but that subtext is really on top.
Going through the book, it can be implied, it's open-ended, it's ambiguous, and there is a fair amount of stuff pushing you in that direction. Is Ford a monster? That's for you and your heart to decide. Before
you, viewer, do you think he fucks monsters? Probably. Half the internet does. Do you think a random dude who lives in the middle of the woods and doesn't have any friends doing anything other than thinking about clapping monster cheeks? Bigfoot's right there.
For the Book of Bill, Bill Ford accrued a small fan base after their past together. Research assistant and Ford idolized him, building parts of the Mystery Shack in his image and fashioning his study into a shrine in his honor before Bill's real plans and imminent betrayal were revealed. He vowed to stop Bill and hunt him through the multiverse, whereas Bill wanted Ford to join him in his schemes. After the Book of Bill came out, it turns out that the obsession truly went both ways, and Ford intrigued Bill to the point where he never got over Ford leaving him. Bill still hasn't let go. He's still yearning. It's kind of sad. There were lots of little bits of Bill Ford material.
Toxic old man Yowie. So much yearning, so much self-hatred, so much combined hatred. People hating people is kind of cringe. Hating people, you hating your ex is kind of funny.
Materials sprinkled throughout the book that fleshed out their relationship and raised some eyebrows for readers. Ford had previously stated that Bill seduced him into friendship, and in the book of Bill, he frequently refers to him as his muse, remembering, "I once considered him the center of my life, the sun in my galaxy." There's a picture of the two of them drinking, in which Ford mentions one thing led to another, and he even gets a tattoo that he thinks means wisdom in Bill's language, but it actually translates to, "If lost, return to Bill." Bill calls their will they, won't they destroy the world relationship spicy. Ford admits he misses Bill, but his aim is getting better, echoing what Stan said about his ex-wife in the show. Mabel says Bill acts like a super needy ex. In the part of the book where Bill talks about his exes, there's a scribbled out section that many have speculated says Stanford. Bill gives love advice, such as trapping the object of your affection in a massive stone pyramid and singing a shrill song until they're mentally broken enough to confess their true feelings, gifting rats to them, and convincing them that they need you, all of which are things he canonically did to Ford. And when we visit thisisnotawebsite.com and
That's so funny. It literally did all of that. He literally did everything. He's like, well, I know exactly how to get your crush to love you. You trap them, then you sing to them until they go insane and reply. But no, just ask him.
Force, we get the logo for the pub O'Sadley's, which is where Bill got wasted on I'm fine juice after Ford called things off with him.
Divorced.
Dumped him. He even cried and had a meltdown because he couldn't order a sixer. And at the end of the day, roughly a fourth of Bill's entire book is somehow related to Ford. With all of that being thrown into the Bill and Ford relationship lore, needless to say, Bill Ford as a romantic pairing became the it ship of the revitalized fandom, with several different takes on their dynamic. Some fans like leaning into the one-sided aspect of their relationship, and others are like, oh no, we're gonna make it very mutual, pining and yearning and longing, but they're just very bad for each other. Bill wants to use Ford, but he still cares about him, and then Ford is betrayed, he can't help feeling what he does for Bill. When I say that Gravity Falls fans have had a field day with this, that is a gross understatement. Non-stop Bill Ford, all day and every day. People coming out and saying, oh my god, I knew it from the start.
I knew it.
And all their
I knew it.
and others being like, oh, I can get behind this old man yowie. Besides Bill Ford, Fit Author, the ship between Ford and Fiddle Ford, has also taken off at light speed, which, to be fair, that pairing's already been around for a good long while, because of all the stuff canonically that could point to them being more than just college buddies and science partners. Much of the fan content for them either focuses on them in their college days, or in post-canon getting back together. Then there's the love triangle between Bill Ford and Fiddle Ford, some people shipping Fiddle's Bill, and others shipping all three together to make Bill Fiddle's Ford. On top of that, there's Fiddle Stan, Bill Stan, any
Bill does what?
flavor of old man x old man or old man x demonic triangle you want. And it hasn't just been ship stuff or old man thirst x demonic triangle. I
want to see what this one is. What's this? Mabel's shipping top. There's too much romantic tension. I don't know what to ship anymore. Toxic yaoi. Triangle love? Ooh, doomed yaoi. Wow. Okay. I don't know what
just
to do.
been ship stuff or old man thirst. There's certainly been plenty of that.
Wow.
There's been lots of other fan content
I
too,
forgot
like
those
Young Stan
existed.
and Ford, Dipper and Mabel, of course. Mabel and Dipper's birthday passed recently, and coincidentally, they share it with Hatsune Miku, of all people. So got a fun mini crossover event right there. New fans drawn to Gravity Falls thanks to Bill's demonic charms have been pouring into the fandom reacting to the show for the first time, as well as older fans coming back to reminisce. Really wholesome posts from fans talking about how they got into Gravity Falls in the first place, how they got involved in the fandom, and how happy they are to see it thriving again. But holy moly, Bill Ford collectively put everybody on a truck.
Everyone
Watching
got
their interactions from the show with that new perspective is quite the experience. They really do read like toxic, bitter exes. I want another divorce. There
I
are
want
several
divorce.
popular AUs and scenarios in the fandom right now.
Why aren't
the
we
Benjamin
second
Bill
divorced?
AU, Mr. Pines AU, Baby Bill meeting young Stan and Ford, lots
Aw.
of Human Bill Cypher, of course, with tons of different designs, Bill getting a redemption arc, weird Mageddon canon divergent AUs, Bill Ford breaking and making up over and over and over again. I will go over Bill Ford more in detail in their own dedicated videos, since there's no way in hell I can cover them in full here. I want to explain and explore their appeal and their fan content more, and there's so many incredible YouTube animatics I need to show y'all, because holy shit, they're everywhere now! Toxic old man monster Yowie. Save me, toxic old man monster Yowie.
Save me, monster fucker, yeah. I mean, hey, if God ain't gonna answer my prayers, maybe the monster fucking Yowie will. I like it a lot. It looks like, can you tell? Yeah, you probably can. It looks like a combination of a fox and a barn owl, and I appreciate that a lot. The way it comes off looking, I think.
Humanified Bill, outside of Alex Hershey's canonical question mark version of it. I'll never give you the equation, Bill. Torture me. No, I won't fall for this half-hearted attempt at manipulation. Besides, you look a little too young for me now. Oh, buddy, is that a request? Oh my god, oh, that could be fixed. Oh, okay. Why would a melting face be more attractive to you? I'm starting to sound like Sonic. Gotta go fast, Ford.
Gotta go fast,
oh
man.
It's escalated. I'm still not giving you the equation. Worth a shot. And put on some clothes, for God's sake. He gave up. Immediately. He's
brother,
just like
brother folded under no pressure. I love this image. I think I'm gonna try and get this image saved. But realistically, this is all. The rest of this is fan art, and I can show you this. I'll show you this one over here.
Yes.
This is so good.
It worked, but at what cost? This idiotic man belonging to this feeble excuse of a species. Its lives are not even a fraction of mine, and yet he has somehow managed to make his way into my head. This human who is so like me, and yet not, but I can give him the greatness he wishes. Then he will follow me. Oh, honey, 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 honey. Give up his humanity. They will all see he shall be mine. You lied, so all this time you used me. This is it? Was I just a puppet to you? You are amusing to play with, Sixer. Everyone likes having pets. Doesn't mean that they actually take their wants into consideration.
The hurt, the stabbing, the gun.
You honey. You had a good thing going, you son of a...
And I was shot 57 times.
I know what's best for you and your world. You should just get back to work. You were over. Our partnership ends now.
The spit is insane.
You
freak.
Okay. Oh no, Stanford. I don't think you understand the situation fully yet.
Oh, he a freak. Oh, he a freak. What the fuck is this?
We're only done when I say so. Allow me. I own you. Bonus of what happened after. 1 Sixer, please. Thought they were just flirting until Ford stopped responding. Sometimes in love,
my bae stopped responding to my text after we went freaky style, and now I don't know what to do.
the only way you learn things is through the hard way. Poor guy is cold. The speech bubble details are really creative here. Why do you treat me like I didn't try to kill off your entire family? Not to mention all the torture. I mean, yeah, but I guess you were always a lot. He knows what he signed up for. He loves him anyway.
I remember the marriage contract. I remember the warning signs. I just ignored them.
Do I too much? No, never too much. Not for me. Sorry. Thank you. I regret everything I ever did, and I understand you need some time. You'll never forgive me, and that's fair. I know. Bill, no more yapping, please.
Hello.
This is so good.
Have a seat. Get comfortable. Relax. Take a second if you need to. Now what's wrong?
Oh. See Bill looks here. Oh my god, little hands! Ah!
I love
Got some
this.
Bill Ford from
I
before
love
the
this.
release
Ooh.
of the Book of Bill. Oh, are you reading my I'm at the best part? Wow, Sixer, you really think highly of me. I always saw you write on that diary of yours, so I needed to take a look for myself, so I read your pages. Ooh, you really love me, Sixer. Notice how once the Book of Bill came out, everyone and their mothers are seeing that Ford and Bill had something. I've been here. Now everyone wants to join in. Apollo confirmed. Sixer, take me out to dinner first.
Haven't you already been to dinner
clown,
like
have
5
some
times?
respect.
You've been to this one. This is the one I wanted to try and show you guys. I don't know what this artist was on, but look at it. It's cool. It looks appealing in a humanoid way, but you can tell there's something wrong, and realistically this would look horrific. But also it wouldn't be too unappealing where you wouldn't want to interact with it. Great design, because it's like, oh, I can tell something's wrong. This isn't right. This isn't how a human's supposed to look. But it's humanoid enough to feel comfortable to talk to and interact with. It's good. Show you from that video. The rest of that is just fan art, and I'd recommend going and watching Coley's video as well as also watching Wheelie Scoot's video, because they were both amazing. Now, I am a year late to this, but better late than never to get back into fandom and also rekindle any remaining fans who want to see some bit more of another opinion. Really, it's not much of an opinion, me just yapping at you guys, but it was here, it was there, it was everywhere, and I'm hoping that you all enjoyed the video. Now, it's my first time editing this as well in this sort of format. It's also my first time reacting to this in this sort of a way. As you can tell, this is my second take. I have spent 3.5 hours recording and trying to get this right, where the audio doesn't double and where it doesn't look horrible as well. So if it doesn't come out great, the editing process is going to take another 4 hours. But if it doesn't come out great, then I hope you at least enjoyed the attempt that was. Now, if you want me to watch the Gravity Falls series in full, leave it in the comments below. I'll happily read them. And I also am already planning on doing another video about the YN trend, because I've gotten a couple compilations of TikToks from it, and I think it'd be funny to react to them. Now, all that being said, it was nice seeing you all here, and I hope to see you in the next one.